Afternoon, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And the good news for the American people as they start their new year is that they're going to have, on average, $3,700 more money in their pocket as a result of the Working Families Tax Cuts Act that we passed this last summer. Not only do you get the permanent increase in the standard deduction, you get the permanent increase in the child tax credit. You get all kinds of business incentives for businesses to invest, make capital investments in this country, whether that's bonus depreciation, interest deductibility, R&D expensing, the 199A deduction, permanent death tax relief, something that I worked on. Those are all investments that are going to pay off, because what they're going to lead to is higher paying jobs, better wages for people in this country, more money in their pocket to take care of themselves and their families. And the other thing that...
Welcome back to the channel. This is 45th Perspective, where we take a step back from the outrage cycle and actually break down the news with facts, context, and clear thinking. If you're new here, this channel is about deep dives, honest summaries, and thoughtful analysis from a patriotic, right-leaning perspective. We don't just repeat headlines, and we don't run from nuance either. Today, we're looking at comments from Senator John Thune that have been circulating widely, where he claims Americans will have, on average, about $3,700 more in their pockets as a result of Trump-era tax cuts heading into 2026. Let's unpack what was said, what's true, what needs context, and what this realistically means for everyday Americans. First, let's establish the facts. Thune is referring to tax legislation passed last summer that he describes as the Working Families Tax Cuts Act. According to him, the law makes permanent several provisions that were previously temporary or at risk of expiring. These include a higher standard deduction, an expanded child tax credit, and a series of business-related tax incentives. On the business side, the law supports things like bonus depreciation, research and development expensing, interest deductibility, and deductions aimed at pass-through businesses. The theory behind all of this is classic supply-side economics: lower the cost of doing business, encourage investment, expand productivity, and let growth translate into better wages and more job opportunities. Thune also emphasized reforms tied to social welfare programs, including Medicaid and SNAP. These reforms focus on work requirements, tighter eligibility checks, and restrictions designed to prevent people who are not legally eligible, including illegal immigrants, from receiving benefits. He pointed to recent cases in Minnesota as evidence of what happens when oversight is weak and systems are exploited. From his perspective, these reforms are just as important as the tax cuts themselves, because they protect taxpayer dollars and ensure assistance goes to those it's meant for. Now let's analyze this carefully, because this is where headlines often oversimplify things. The $3,700 figure is an average. That's an important word that gets lost in political messaging. Not every household will see that exact benefit. Families with children, dual incomes, or small businesses are more likely to see noticeable relief. Others may see modest changes. Some may feel almost no difference at all. That doesn't mean the claim is false, but it does mean it needs context. Conservatives should always be honest about how policy impacts different groups, because credibility matters. From an economic standpoint, the logic behind these tax cuts is sound. When families keep more of their income, they have more flexibility. That can mean saving, investing, paying down debt, or simply breathing a little easier in an economy where costs are rising. For businesses, especially small and medium-sized ones, tax certainty matters. When owners know the rules won't change every couple of years, they're more likely to invest in equipment, expand operations, and hire workers. Over time, that can translate into higher wages and a stronger job market. But this is not magic, and it's not instant. Economic growth takes time. Wages don't rise just because a bill is signed into law. Markets respond to confidence, stability, and long-term policy consistency. If future administrations reverse course or inject uncertainty, the full benefits of these policies may never materialize. That's a reality supporters need to acknowledge. On the issue of welfare reform, this is where the conversation often gets emotional, but it doesn't need to be. Accountability is not cruelty. Requiring work when possible, verifying eligibility, and preventing fraud are basic responsibilities of government. A system that allows abuse doesn't just waste money, it undermines public trust and hurts the people who truly depend on these programs. A conservative approach isn't about eliminating the safety net, it's about making sure it functions as intended and doesn't become a permanent substitute for opportunity. That said, implementation matters. Poorly designed rules, confusing bureaucracy, or uneven enforcement can cause real harm. Conservatives should demand efficiency and competence, not just tougher language. Reform only works when it's executed well. So what does all this really mean for Americans heading into the next few years? It means some households will see real tax relief, especially when filing returns. It means businesses may have stronger incentives to invest domestically rather than overseas. It also means the broader impact depends on leadership, discipline, and whether these policies are allowed to work without constant political interference. My honest opinion as a right-wing patriot is this. The goals behind these policies are right. Letting Americans keep more of what they earn, encouraging job creation, and protecting taxpayer-funded programs from abuse are principles worth defending. But conservatives win when we tell the truth, not when we oversell. Strong arguments don't need exaggeration. If the benefits are real, they'll show up in paychecks, job numbers, and economic stability over time. This is exactly why thoughtful discussion matters. Policy isn't a slogan. It's cause and effect, and it deserves serious analysis. If you believe in economic freedom, personal responsibility, and a government that works for its citizens instead of against them, then this conversation is worth having honestly and openly. If this breakdown helped you better understand what's actually going on behind the headlines, make sure to like this video. Subscribe to 45th Perspective for more deep dives, fact-driven analysis, and calm, confident conservative commentary. Thanks for watching, thanks for supporting the channel, and as always, I appreciate you spending your time here. I'll see you in the next one.
The other thing that was included in that, and you're starting now to see, as a result of some of the things that we did, the reforms taking place, dealing with, for example, a Medicaid SNAP program, work requirements, eligibility checks, making sure that immigrants, illegal immigrants, are not getting the benefit of some of these programs. Those were all things that were also included in that piece of legislation that we passed last summer. And that's really coming into focus now because of what's happening in the state of Minnesota. We are seeing up close and personal a real example of how some of these government programs are taken advantage of and benefits delivered to people who are not eligible. Our whole goal in that legislation last summer was to make sure that the people who are supposed to benefit from government assistance actually do benefit, and it's not being abused and gained by states and people around this country. So we think there are just benefits that are going to continue to play out through the course of this next year for the American people, and we think this year, when they start filing their tax returns, it's going to be a good day for them because they're going to have a lot more money in their pocket than they would have if the Democrats had their way and we weren't able to get the tax cuts, the Working Families Tax Cuts bill passed into law.